Welcome back to this segment of Racing Rundown Around the World for this week. This week, we are talking about the King George Stakes at Ascot, one of my favorite races in the world and one of the best races in the world. We've got 6 horses lined up for this race. Hopefully, we're going to have some better results than we've been having the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, last week was kind of a wash because the horse that I obviously went with, Emily Upjohn, came out of the Irish Oaks, but we're going to try again this week and with the King George. We'll go into all 6 of the horses. And I have some very bold opinions on this, so I'm going to lay those out, lay it on the line. Hopefully, I am fortunate enough to be right on some of my readings of the horses in here. But we'll go into this race, and we're going to start off with the favorite right now, and that is Westover, the winner of the Irish Derby. Impressive winner of the Irish Derby. He won that by 7 lengths. Before that, was third in the Derby. Had a lot of trouble in the stretch at Epsom. Very easily, if he had gotten a cleaner run through at any point in the stretch, could have gotten second there, but he was never going to beat Desert Crown, the favorite at Epsom, obviously. And then in his first start of the year, going 1.25 miles at Sandown, he won that. So he comes into this race as the favorite. I think it makes sense that he is the favorite, but I don't necessarily want to call him a deserving favorite, at least by the margin that he is, because I don't like Westover at all in the King George. Westover's the big horse that I'm going to be very against. And if you remember back when we did the Irish Derby on Racing Rundown Around the World, I was very against Westover there. Unfortunately, I was wrong in that spot, but the form from the Irish Derby has not come back to flatter him really at all. And the only benefit I could say about the Irish Derby was that he finished in front of Tuesday there. But Tuesday, I don't really know how good Tuesday is exiting Epsom. Obviously, she's a good filly, but I thought that she should have been able to beat that group there. And while she did get a poor ride from Ryan Moore, I don't think that her run there reflects really strongly on her. But I also, the big thing that kind of really pushed me against Westover, I was always against him to begin with, but the run that Pisbadil had last week in the Grand Prix de Paris at Longchamp, that was a very, very poor effort from Pisbadil. He ran last there, didn't give an impression at all there. And at that point, I was basically dead set on Westover. I didn't think he beat anyone to begin with because I haven't liked Pisbadil at all year. But when he ran as poorly as he did at Longchamp, I kind of made the judgment to myself, okay, got to be very against Westover here. The public obviously does not agree with me, and it's very risky to go against a horse that ran as well as he did in the Derby and won a Group 1 by 7 lengths. It's very risky to be against that horse, but I'm going to be against Westover here just because I don't think he's beaten anybody in his career, and I think the Irish Derby is a little bit inflated by running against a rather weak group of horses there, with that. We'll move on now to Emily Upjohn, the runner-up at Epsom. I thought that she was going to, I, as well as everybody else, thought that she was going to win the Oaks rather easily. Unfortunately, she missed the break at the start, rallied very, very well there. I thought she got up initially, obviously. She was beaten a very tough luck short head there at Epsom, but she ran a winning race at Epsom, and I think on the day she was probably better than Tuesday. Certainly, this is a bit of a tougher spot than what would have been last week, but before Epsom, she was flawless. 9.5 length victory in her first start of the year at Sandown. Her final trial at York won by 5.5 lengths, very similarly. Not really having to give much effort there in those 2 races. And then she ran great at Epsom. You can't really say too many bad things about her. I'm a little bit nervous about her because I didn't like how Tuesday ran in the Irish Derby. If Tuesday had run a little bit better in the Irish Derby, then I'd be more confident about Emily Upjohn. I'm not going to pick her here. She could absolutely win, but I'm going to stay away from Emily Upjohn just because a little bit of question marks. And again, I'm giving more respect to Westover than I thought I would in terms of I'm kind of knocking the fact that Tuesday lost to him and using that as kind of a reason to not pick Emily Upjohn here. But she can absolutely win this race, and she's going to be very tough here. I think she will run a very strong race, but not a winning race here. And we're going to move on to her stablemate, Mischief, and I should scroll back up to the top here. Mischief is actually going to be the horse that I'm going to pick here. Mischief, off of a 4.5 month layoff, I should be more accurate to say that there, ran a very good race in the Eclipse. He got a very bad ride from David Egan there. I thought that he would have been the winner if he had gotten through earlier and a much better trip there. Again, I think that Vidani's a tragically overrated horse, and I think Mischief gets the job done there if he gets a competent ride there. So obviously, I really like the rider change to James Doyle in this race. That's one thing. The other thing is he now has a run underneath him, and it was a winning effort in a Group 1. So that's check number 2. Check number 3 is Mischief is Group 1 caliber, and he has some really good efforts in these kind of races. Obviously, he won the Dubai Shima Classic, which was going 1.5 miles at Meydan back in March of last year. So that's another big point in his corner. Very good runner-up effort behind Adiyar last year in the King George. So his Ascot form is very iffy. He ran very poorly in the Champion Stakes in 2020. That was over soft ground. The going's not going to be that kind of soft there. Very good run last year in the King George, and then a weird run in the Champion. I'm not going to call it bad, but I also can't call it good. It was a weird effort in the Champion Stakes last year. So his Ascot form is kind of iffy, but I think he's got a really good chance to win this. He's coming out of a really strong effort at Sandown. I'm going to pick him on top here. I'm going to take the class that he's always had and hope that he's going to break through at a race of this level. I mean, he already is a Group 1 winner, but and he won the International last year, but I think this is the time where he's going to break through and put himself in the conversation of, obviously in terms of the arc and maybe in terms of knocking on the door of best horse in the world. Obviously, he has to win this race, but I think that is certainly something that he could do and get in his corner. We're going to move on now to the real wild card of this race, and that's the ARC winner from last year, Torcado Tasso. I thought that his run last time was a very good race, and he, to explain the one start that he had before that, the really bad effort, looks almost identical to what happened with him in 2021. He was 6th in another Group 2 in Germany, different courses, but 6th in that race off of a 200-plus day layoff. So this is clearly not a horse that runs well off the break initially, but second start back in 2021, Group 2 win, second start back 2022, also Group 2 win, both of those at Hamburg, and I believe those were in the same races. I might be wrong, though, and I'm not going to check that right now, so I do apologize for not having that on hand, but point is that very, very good efforts coming into, very good effort coming into this, and you look at what happened last year. He needed the race clearly first time out, so I think Torcado Tasso, real wild card here. I can't pick him because I don't really... number one, I'm not really sure what the ground situation is going to be, and he's not a horse that necessarily needs heavy ground or something like that, but he's a wild card here. I don't want to trust him. He's great value, but again, I'm going to keep repeating it, but he is a wild card here, so I got to take a pass on him. But at the price he's going to be, especially if you're playing this race in the United States, as I will be, at the price he's going to be, very much worth a shot. We'll move on now to the number 5 horse, Broom. I don't like Broom in this race. He's probably going to run, at least early on in the race, very similar to the way he did last year. But I said after the Hardwick that Broom is not a Group 1 level horse, and I'm going to stick by that. I don't think he's Group 1 level. I'd love for him to come over to the U.S. and steal a Grade 1 here, but at this rate, I think that there are just better horses in here, and I think you're going to see very similar effort to the way he ran last year. He'll be a part of it early, and then he'll back out, and the better horses will end up winning the race. So, maybe he is able to still hit the board, but third, I'm not really gonna, hedge my bets on or make that as the big point in this video is that Broom's gonna run third. Point is the better horses are gonna win this race, I think. And now we'll move on to the final horse, Pile Driver, who it's understandable why he's floating up, but keep an eye on him because he's gonna be very much up there, and I do apologize for Xing out of that screen there. Pile Driver, good effort last time behind a Coombe at Epsom, and then you go back to his form in the Middle East. Bad start at Riyadh. I call that track Groundhog Day, so I don't really care. Good run at Meydan, a little bit tight quarters for him there. I don't think he was going to win the race, but he did run a very good effort at Meydan in the Shima Classic, and then obviously you go back to last year, Group 1 winner who won the Coronation Cup at Epsom. Strong runner-up effort behind Glory Vaz at Hong Kong. He's a good horse, but he might just be a little bit inferior to some of the horses in here. Again, this is a very evenly matched race. My points on here, obviously, I'm taking Mischief. I don't like Westover. I think Torcado Tasso is, obviously, he's your obvious board hitter horse at any kind of price in here. And Emily Upjohn, I think she'll run a very fine race, but she's not going to be my pick in this spot. So Mischief, I'm settling down on that. that's the big takeaway from this video, is that Mischief, I think, is going to win the King George. Hopefully I do end up being right on this, and hopefully we're able to help you out in some facet with this. Be sure to check out our 2 previews on Racing Rundown for the Coaching Club American Oaks and the Haskell Stateside, and we'll see you at middle point of next week when we will be talking about the races at Goodwood, Sussex, and Goodwood Cup. So we'll see you for those. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.